Lord. Hey everyone, welcome to the Spark Show. In this episode, I'm talking to Kelsey Chapman. She is the author of What They Taught Me, Recognizing the Mentors Who Will Take you from dream to done, that hit shelves on February 9th. Super happy that I already got my copy right here. I'm holding it for those of you who are listening. So she's a podcaster and personal cheerleader to women building their dream life and business. So welcome, Kelsey, and thank you for being here on the Spark Show today.
Thank you for having me. Man, it is truly a joy to be here with you.
Awesome. Well, first off, can you tell us a little bit more about the book? I'm so excited to read it.
Man, well, okay, so I love women investing in women, and I have known since I was a little girl that I wanted to write books. That has been something that's been a dream for as far back as I can remember. And when I started putting pen to paper or keyboard to Google Docs a few years ago, millennial props, um, I really just started with this story of a woman who invested so generously in me. And I was like, wow, I actually have more of these stories. And I'm realizing this is unique because I have friends who regularly ask me, how did you find a mentor? And I would say, like, well, I just asked, or they were already in my life, and I think that's when it clicked of, oh, I have more of these stories and I want my friends to be able to access mentors like I've been able to. So let's boil it down into a book. And that's where this started. And really, the heart behind it is, man, let me tell stories of how these women who were ordinary women impacted my life in extraordinary ways. And let me help you look around for some of those women in your life, or maybe shift a mindset to help you understand you can be that for someone else. And so if people walk away from this book and A, decide to become a mentor, or B, seek mentorship in their life, that would be a total win for me.
I love that. And I think that even now it's just so important to have a mentor. I am a big believer in mentorship and coaching as well. So why do you think it's super important for people to have a mentor?
Yeah, I think mentors really help you shortcut the distance to success. So, say you want a successful marriage, they'll shortcut your process. Instead of learning the lesson over 5 years, maybe you can learn it in 6 months, right? And if I can shortcut the process to more fullness and freedom with less pain involved, count me in. I mean, if you'll tell me anything that will help me shortcut my distance to success, I'm all ears. And so, as I've navigated life, I have looked at each facet of life I really want to grow or excel in, where I have an opportunity to learn some to kind of bridge the gap between how I'm currently existing and where I want to be. I'm going to seek a woman's advice to help me get there, someone that I admire that's modeling a life that I want to build. And I really believe that for anyone, a mentor can help you shortcut that process so that you don't have to learn the long, hard way.
I love how you talk about shortcuts and navigation, because as a hiker, that completely is exactly what we do when we're going on these really like difficult hikes, and there's like glacial traverses, and I'm like, I'm instead of trying to go do that on my own and also possibly risk my life, I'd rather hire a guide or go with a group that has already done it already. So I totally agree with you on that concept.
Hey, that makes so much sense. I was actually on a hike in Oregon yesterday, and without my superstar friend who has her All Trails app on, I would have no idea what I was doing. And she was taking me through some suspect routes, but I trusted her.
Yeah, especially if you go on some like long distance backpacking, which me and my husband like to do. If you don't have a map or a trail or someone to tell you which way not to go, it's totally useful. So I really love how you created that analogy. And I think it's easier for people to understand who are not necessarily familiar with mentorship or coaching. So one of the things that you discuss is how to actually find a mentor, and that many people overlook the fact that your mentor might already be in your inner circle. And so, what would be your number one advice or your tips to finding the right mentor?
Yeah, I think, my number one piece of advice would be to start where you are, to look around, and maybe there's a friend's mom who's crushing it in a department you want to grow in. She might not be perfect. A mentor is not going to be perfect. I mean, for any of us people who are married out there, we know a spouse didn't complete us. So how the heck would a mentor complete us? Like seriously. So, you know, look for someone who's crushing it in one area of life. Just because she's not crushing it in all areas doesn't mean that she doesn't have something impactful to offer you, and ask her to step in. Maybe it's a friend's mom, maybe it's a neighbor that you're like, wow, they're a killer parent. And I want to be a parent one day, or I just had a kid, or they're a few years ahead of me. I want to learn from her. Or wow, she's an amazing entrepreneur. And I just got into this space and I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm going to ask, what can I do to learn from you? Do you want me to come fold laundry while you're getting some chores done and I can just ask you questions? Or can I send you a Starbucks gift card and treat you to a Zoom coffee date? Because that kind of makes sense for the current state of the world, right? And so if you have people in your life that you already admire, just ask. It can be awkward to put yourself out there, but I promise it's worth it. And then if you don't have someone in your inner circle, I think that's an opportunity to join communities who share the same values as you, like joining a hikers club or joining a MOPS group or joining a specific type of workout class. Over time, you're going to build relationships with people there. You don't have to go the first day and say, hey, will you be my life mentor? That might be coming on a little too strong. So just ask them to coffee once first to see if it's a viable connection, and go from there. That's a great place to meet mentors or friends, right? In a shared value or hobby.
Such great advice. And I really like what you said about how a mentor is not going to solve all your problems, or it's not going to be the magic pill to all of the challenges that you're facing. So I do love that you talk about like self-awareness and knowing that at the end of the day, it is your personal responsibility. But your mentor is there to help, but not necessarily solve the whole thing.
Totally.
And I love what you also said about communities and finding people. And so I just recently moved to Minnesota, and I thought it'd be really hard to make friends, especially with COVID. And usually I go co-working, but I've been working from home for the last, I don't know, year.
Yeah.
So I've actually found like plant communities, because as you could see my plants in here in my video, and I've found like a great group of friends, and some of them can definitely be mentors for me. So
Yeah, like you start to realize as you make new friends and you let it blossom again, like just like dating, you don't talk about babies on the first date most of the time, right? So that would be a little much. So again, you hang out once and you're like, wow, I can see this person mentoring me. They're a few steps ahead of me. Just take it step by step and let the relationship progress naturally. It
love
sounds so
that.
much like dating. I don't mean to be a weirdo about it.
I do that all the time when I'm teaching my students. I always like relate it to dating, because then people get that kind of perspective on it. So I love that. So you also encourage the idea of people stepping into the role of being a mentor for others, but a lot of people sometimes feel they're not qualified enough to be a mentor. So what advice would you give to those who aspire to be a mentor to others?
Totally. I really believe that each of us carries something unique into the world and that we're never going to feel like we've arrived, right? I mean, I think you and I probably have been in this space long enough to realize, oh, wait, I always feel like I'm on the journey. I thought I would have arrived. And that's just, you know, a nice idea to help us keep going. And so no one feels like they have it all together. I'm sure Oprah doesn't feel like she has it all together or hasn't fully arrived. I mean, we're all going to be consistent, continually moving in the direction of our dreams. And so if you can just reach behind you and invite someone 3 steps behind you along for the ride, that is all someone is looking for from you. They are not expecting perfection. They are not expecting you to have it all figured out. But if we're talking about a trail analogy, on a trail, if you have someone 3 steps ahead of you that says, hey, there's a limb on the ground here, step over it, or veer to the right, veer to the left, that is so much more helpful than even someone a mile ahead of you because you can't see them when they're a mile ahead of you anymore. You can't even keep up with them. But someone just 3 steps ahead of you, they're right there in it with you. And that's the beauty of if you feel like you don't have it all figured out, that's fine. The person 3 steps behind you wants you to be in it with them anyways. And that kind of takes the pressure off.
I really love how you say that because sometimes when we think of like a mentor or coach, we want someone that's like 100 steps ahead of us. And a lot of the times, those people are not even accessible, one, or you can't afford them yet and you can't work with them yet. But there's someone that is a year ahead of you or 2 years ahead of you that have probably gone through the same challenges. So I really love the 3 steps behind in that
I
list.
was thinking about that for myself today too, of like, that's a good reminder for myself when I disqualify myself. I'm in the middle of developing some new offers and I have to walk through that same exact imposter syndrome every time I'm up leveling. And so I also want to normalize that for anyone listening.
Oh, I'm in the same boat. You think that, once you get to a certain point, it goes away and it doesn't. Like the mindset, and that's why I think that it is a lifelong journey to get through those blocks because every single time, I'm sure it is for you, like you said, you do deal with imposter syndrome. You do deal with self-doubt at every level.
Oh, yeah. I really thought that it would go away. And I've just found I tend to relearn the same lessons over and over again, which is why I have a mindset coach.
So speaking of a mindset coach, how have they helped you with any of those mindset blocks that you were having as you launched your business or developed new offers?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So I've specifically worked with a mindset coach, Kate Crocco, who's helped me on the mindset side of my business. She's amazing, also best friend. But I would say Amber and Ann are more of my like life business mentors. They're, one is about 5, 7 years older than me and leaps and bounds ahead of me, not just 3 steps, and another's maybe 10 years ahead of me. And so both women have walked this road. They've watched this online business landscape change. And as we know, this is a rapidly changing landscape. Like my family owns family businesses that are brick and mortar, and whoa, things change way faster in this online space. And so I was like, I need someone to help me navigate these ups and downs. Like my family members can relate because they own their own business, but this feels a little crazy some days. And so I needed someone who had been in it years when I'd only been in it 1 year, who could say, hey, it changes fast, but it makes you adaptable and it's going to help you grow and it's going to stretch you. And no matter what, these skill sets are really good to learn to land on your feet and pivot at the drop of a dime. What a great skill set. I've had to do it before too, and I'll hold your hand as you walk through this valley. And so I would not be where I am today if I didn't have my business mentors. They have helped me shortcut the process to not just success, and by no means have I arrived, but a financially viable lifestyle to still be an online business. Like I really would not be where I am today without them because I was winging it when I got started and I needed someone to help me up level and grow and do this with longevity.
You mentioned your family had brick and mortar business, and I just totally get it because I'm in the same boat. But digital and online is such a different ball game, and I think it's the same concepts, but it does change really fast. Like some things that worked last year are not working this year. And you talked about pivoting. So what are some of the challenges that you've had to kind of overcome with like going digital and learning like the online landscape?
Oh, wow. Well, I've got a good one for you. So, when I got started with basically an Instagram growth service. Everything was manual, real followers, growing in a way that allowed my clients to build a following of real relevant people, and at the time there were only these robot services. People were buying followers, and I was like, hey, this is not ever going to gain you sales. But I also knew there was a ticking time bomb on it because Facebook bought Instagram, and I knew Facebook moved in a direction of ads only, so Instagram will do that. So I rode that wave. I would onboard clients and say, we're going to ride this wave as long as we can, but this will change. So I run month to month. You can book me out for months at a time, but this could literally change any minute. And it did overnight. And 1 month, one algorithm change literally wiped out my whole agency. And I went from $20,000 months to zero overnight. And so, literally at the drop of a dime, I mean, I woke up and my type A clients already knew it before me. They're like, Kelsey, I've got a message at 6:50 a.m. Like, did you see that update? And I I was leveled. And I was so glad I'd built that relational equity with my mentors, with Ann and Amber, because they knew how I operated. They knew how I worked. They knew my gifts and talents. And they were like, you can pivot. You can do this. You've got to do the task in front of you right now, which is close up shop, notify your clients, reimburse clients who have paid in advance. That was grueling. But I handled that with integrity. So a lot of those clients, I still have a wonderful, every relationship I still have a wonderful relationship with today. And that was 50 clients a month. They still pop in my email inbox and are like, any new Instagram strategies, girl, help a sister out. And during that pivot, they had known me on the mountaintop. So they were able to walk with me through the valley and help me rebuild. And I literally don't know what I would have done without them. I probably would have gone and gotten a day job, which is fine. At some point, we go through circumstances that's what we need to do. But they helped me rebuild in a way that was aligned with who I am, that piggybacked on the strategies I had used when that was a viable method and a viable business. And they helped me have the confidence to move forward because I really dealt with a lot of imposter syndrome after that. I was like, I'm a 29-year-old peaker. I'm a flash in the pan, you know, what if that's it? What if that's as successful as I'll ever be? And they were there to remind me that's not true and to walk with me as I rebuild.
Wow, what a great story. For anyone watching or listening, if you can go through that and still come out here like published author, and now you have this new business model, anyone can do it. Definitely.
Anyone can do it if
Yes,
I
anyone can do it. That must have been insane. And that's why I also tell a lot of my students like we do not own these channels. We do not own these platforms and apps. So you need to cover your behinds and make sure that if something does happen, that you don't lose everything, right? You don't lose all those relationships that you're building. I'm like, send them to the email list all the time. Like build your email list.
everything.
Yes, exactly. So, wow, what a great story. And it just makes me realize that, like having those connections is really the most important things above like having the followers in the audience.
Totally. I have built an audience. I know what it feels like to have the numbers, but that day-to-day relational connection can never be replaced by an audience. If you don't have those people around your table, even if they're a virtual table, what's it to have an audience if you don't have people in your everyday life walking alongside you? And so I value my audience. Every single one of those people are real important people to me, but I don't get to interact with them daily. And so I need that relational component that is walking alongside each other for the long run that comes with mentors and peers.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you talk about it's also like your circle, right? The circle that you probably talk to or have a text group with or something where you check in for accountability. I have one of those as well. I have some more like organized stuff, organized like masterminds that we do like every other week. It just keeps me like feeling like, especially with working from home alone, by myself, like I have my team, but they're not here in the same place. It just really helps with also me being an extrovert. Like it really helps to get that energy from other people as well.
Girl, same.
It must be hard for you too during this time.
I am the extrovert of all extroverts, but I will say we just moved from Colorado to Tennessee and we're living with my best friend until we move into a house 3 streets over. So I'm getting a lot of extrovert time. I might be wearing them out. Friends all the time.
I'm like, we need to get on a chat. We need to do some more video calls. We need to do stuff together. And all my introvert friends are like, oh, here's Gwen again. So I want to switch gears a little bit because we talked about mentors, and I hate the expression picking my brain. And you talk about that difference, and I'd love for you to kind of expand a little bit about that. And when did you realize it was time for you to pay for a mentor?
Oh man, girl, same. I wrote that in the book. I hate the phrase picking my brain because here's the deal. Any person that I have relational equity with has full access to my mind for free. Even with my service based business right now, I will tell a personal friend in a reciprocal relationship with me literally everything I know. I will say, hey, I'll tell you how to do it. But if you want someone to do it for you, you can pay me. But literally, I'll tell you how to do it. That is kind of my life philosophy. I will give my information freely to people who I am in relationship with. But when someone I'm not in relationship with already wants to pick my brain, well, what? They're not thinking about supporting me. They're only thinking about taking. And I know that the majority of people who say that are not really thinking, I want to take from you. That's not the heart. And I recognize that. But if we could just shift gears a bit and say, hey, I would love to learn from you. What can I do to support you and to serve you? Sometimes that's paying, especially if that's what they do for their job. If I'm coming to you for guidance in an area that you are billing other customers for every day, it is appropriate for me to pay you. And I think if someone's out there looking for a mentor in that capacity, it's probably time to pay them. Now, in the past, I've also traded my services for mentorship. For me, when I got started, I didn't have a ton of money. And so I said, hey, I run this service for $150 a month, and that grew over time. But when I got started, that's what I charged. And I would love 1 hour of your time. So all you have to do is give me your brain, no implementation, nothing beyond the hour of your time. And I will run my service that actually is like 10 hours of my time a month for you. And that was a way that I could show them I'm committed to giving back to them. Was there a monetary exchange there? No, but they understood that my manual labor was far more of an investment than their 1 hour. And so they saw some grit and some determination, and that I appreciated their wisdom and were more than willing to give me their time. Now, I'm not saying that you go to any mentor out there and say, let me trade with you. That might not always work out for you. And it certainly hasn't always worked out for me. But I think the heart there is service. And if you can serve your mentor, or if you're paying them and do your service for them to show that you're invested and you want to serve them, I promise they're going to want to give more to you out of your simple positioning of your heart towards them. It goes such a long way to have a heart to serve them for all they're passing along to you. And so many people, they say it's lonely at the top, right? these mentors don't always have people giving back to them. They're pouring out all day long. So the simple act of you giving back to them can take your relationship so far. I know, like when I've mentored women and they've wanted to give back to me, I'm way more invested. Not because, the other girls weren't as valuable, but I'm like, man, they care about me too. And some days I'm exhausted. And this is so energizing to interact with this person.
Those are such great suggestions. I feel like I get so many messages, and you can tell who's just like in that take mentality of like, I just want to know everything and I'm not going to pay you, but you should definitely give me all the things that you learned. And so like, give me your lifelong journey and download it. If I could just download it and then I'll be done. Because that's the thing that they don't understand too, is like the implementation, right? Like I can also tell you, but will you actually follow through, and will you actually take the steps? And there's more to it than the step 1 through 10, right?
Totally. And that monetary exchange shows the mentor that there's skin in the game for you. I don't know about you, but usually when I pay for something, my skin is in the game a little more than a non-paid format sometimes. And so that is also a big reason people charge, is they want to see that, like, okay, I'm carving out my time for this and I do this all day. Like at some point I have to charge for it. Are you as invested? Because it's easy to receive a total download, but it might have taken me 10 years to learn that lesson to turn around and give to you.
Yeah, I totally completely agree with, when I paid more, I showed up to every call, I went through all the trainings. The things that I actually paid less for, it's like still in the welcome email, still in my inbox, and I haven't even logged in to the thing that I bought that was, like less than I think $50 or something like that. So I do believe that there is that monetary exchange, and it does motivate you if you are putting money in on the table and telling yourself and your mentor that you're investing in it.
I I I am literally relating so much because I have a $27 product I just bought. I have a membership I joined in November that I haven't even logged into. And I'm like, oh man, I need to take that advice too.
Yes, don't, trust me. I do the same thing. I see something, it's great, and then I'm like, I'll keep it, and then hopefully I get to it. But
Yep.
like the thing that I paid $12,000 for, I'm in there like every single day.
Every call. Yes.
Yeah, so I totally understand the energy shift on that. So thank you, Kelsey, so much for joining us today. I am excited to dive into your book.
Thank
Is
you.
it February 8th is the day?
Yes.
Amazing. So we'll go ahead and add your links to the show notes and to the description so people can find you and learn more about you. What are you excited to do the rest of the year?
First, I'm excited to rest. I always think there's a season for running and a season for resting, and this has been a running season. I was chatting with you before this, and I did not know what an 8-week launch would feel like. So I am ready to be off my phone for 1 whole week. I think that's all I need. It's going to be great. And then I'm excited to dive into the membership space. As I just said, I haven't logged into one I'm in. I do plan to launch one, and I think it's going to be fun to serve people in a new format. I'm excited for some new formats this year.
Well, if you haven't looked into my offers, I am a big fan of the membership space. I've been running my membership for 3 years now. The Spark Society has been one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I think it is super fulfilling to, serve my members and show up. I love to show up and be there. I love to teach live. It's not just a course where you just get all the videos and that's it. There's a lot of live components. And so I'm excited for yours.
I'm excited too. I can't wait to check out how you're facilitating that, because that has been really fun for me to just observe and see how people are serving in that capacity. I think it's a really special way to build a community. So
Amazing. Well, thanks again for being on the Spark Show. And thank you for listening or watching wherever you're tuning in. And I will see you in the next video.